So in this lesson, I want to focus on priorities. I want to focus on what your priorities are. So when we're making decisions, when we're building the business that we want to own, when we're building our ideal business, the foundation of that should be based on your priorities, because you're going to be putting so much time, so much energy, so much effort, and really, taking on so much responsibility to build this business. It needs to be congruent with what's important to you. So when we're thinking about our priorities, what is important to you? What's most important to you in life? What do you value most? Not just professionally, but personally as well. What gives your work in your personal life meaning? So, some people talk about, their core values. Some people talk about, their ideals or whatever else. And these words may very well be interchangeable, but for the purposes of this video, for the purposes of this mentorship, let's just call them priorities. What are your priorities personally and professionally? Because we want to use them as we move forward. We want to use them as we make decisions, and we want to build a business that is built on that kind of bedrock foundation and really functions to support these values and not tug against them and make you question whether or not your business is something that makes you happy. So we're going to do two different things. The first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to give you an example of a few of my priorities, and then I'm going to ask you to complete a simple worksheet, and it's going to basically give you a list of dozens of example priorities that you can adopt, you can use as your own, and maybe they're just great ways to describe, because you're not really taking these on, you're just finding ways to articulate what your priorities are, or fill in something. If you don't find a word that really embodies what your priorities are, then just add them. And I'm going to ask you to list out 5 to 10 of your priorities on this worksheet. So just to give you an example of what a few of my priorities are. The first one, and I talk about it a lot, is family. For me, that's huge. It's important to me to not only, live in a way and build a business in a way that supports my family, but also it should be something that inspires my family and allows them to, kind of lets me lead by example. Because if I'm not happy in my business, then what kind of example am I setting for my boys as far as, what professional life looks like for them down the line? So, family is a big one for me. The second one is honesty. I think it's important that any good relationship is built on honesty, and then kind of in conjunction with that, integrity. You can't have a meaningful relationship that lasts over time without those two things. And, you've probably heard me talk about it often. Life is about relationships. Life is about, connections with other people. Business, life, everything. We're in a people business. We're in a people world, really, right? Everything starts with people and relationships. So, honesty, and in conjunction with that, integrity. Just kind of being who you say you are, doing what you say you'll do. The next one that is really meaningful to me, again, is relationships. And you could talk about friendships, connections. Again, these words are kind of interchangeable, but for me, relationships are a driver. There are people in my life that I, even if they're not necessarily a blood relative, they feel like family. And my goal is to connect with people so that we've got a relationship that transcends business or transcends circumstance. And, when I was a baseball coach, ideally, it wasn't just about winning games on the field. We had a relationship, with my players or my assistant coaches that, would last well beyond our opportunity to get together on a baseball diamond. So, the next one's fun. If you don't enjoy what you do, on average, why are you doing it? I mean, if something doesn't make you happy the bulk of the time, then you probably should be spending your time elsewhere. And, you know, a lot of people don't subscribe to that. They think they have to tolerate work, or they think they have to tolerate a lot of things in life. But, you know, my underlying belief is that life's too short. We need to do things that are fun. And then, you know, I think that there are a few others that are really meaningful to me as far as priorities. One of them is security. Like, there's this balance for me personally between security and opportunity. So I'll talk about both of those, because both of those are priorities for me. And sometimes people think that they are mutually exclusive. But for me, I want to have security so that, you know, my family doesn't have to worry down the line. We don't have to worry about whether or not, you know, we can afford the boys to go to college, or whether or not we're going to be okay in retirement, or, you know, I mean, I don't want to be at the mercy of outside circumstance, like, okay, how's social security going to hold up, or anything like that. So having some security for me is just peace of mind. I mean, when I think about money or talk about money, it's largely about security and opportunity. In fact, that's pretty much all it is. So having that security down the line, but then opportunity for me to do the things I want to do today, to have the experiences that I want to have today. Because, you know, I understand that for each of us, you know, we don't get today back. We don't get to do it over. So I don't want money to be a limiting factor. So I want to be able to explore opportunities. I don't want to be, you know, burdened by, you know, financial constraints, because we always have constraints with other things anyhow. So, you know, having opportunity to do the things I want, to explore the things I want to explore, to, you know, to share that with the people that are important to me, be it family or friends or whatever else, again, that's another priority for me. And then growth. I want to always feel like I'm growing and I'm facilitating growth, you know, in the people around me. I'm serving as both a leader in that category, but as a teammate in that category as well. Because, you know, I mean, if we're not growing, what are we doing? We're regressing, because the world's growing around us. You know, everything in our environment is moving forward. So we have to grow just to keep pace. But for me, it's a fulfillment thing too. You know, I want to be improving. I always want to feel like I'm a little bit better than I was yesterday, a little bit better than I was last week, last month, last year. So, you know, just personal growth, learning, exploring new things, having more experiences, you know, just being better at anything that I'm going to do, be it a business owner, you know, an entrepreneur, as a parent, as a spouse, as a friend. I want to keep moving forward. And then, you know, for me, success is important. Now, my measure of success is just, you know, doing what I feel like I'm capable of doing with, you know, with the talent or skills that I possess. So, you know, I'm not necessarily trying to measure success by somebody else's scoreboard, but for me, you know, I'm always trying to compete with myself to be a little bit better. It kind of goes in line with the growth side of things. But, you know, success is another priority for me. I always want to be, you know, trying to better my best and continuing to improve in all facets, both professionally and personally. Now, do I nail these all the time? Am I great at all this stuff all the time? Far from it. But these are my priorities. And when I'm making decisions, I need to make decisions that fit with them. I feel like if you have your priorities, if you have your values in place, they serve as a decision-making filter for you to help you kind of vet opportunities, to vet choices. I mean, you know, for me, if somebody says, well, hey, you can come out here and consult for a month in California, well, that's not great for my family. It's not great for my personal relationships if it's pulling me so far away. So, you know, I use that as a decision-making tool to help me make a decision and say, look, it's not a good fit. You know, anything that's going to force me to compromise honesty or integrity, even if it's something financially that provides a lot for me, it's not going to fit. So even if something, lines up with one priority like security or opportunity, if it doesn't line up with the others, I mean, it's not going to mesh with where I'm trying to go personally and professionally. So that's going to be our lesson for the week. That's going to be our focus, is identifying 5 to 10 of our top priorities. And if I were you, I would probably go higher rather than lower, because these are values. These are kind of in line with what we'll talk about later, guardrails, and they're just some touch points that help you make decision making easier, to build things around, so that that if you're going to move a business forward, for you, success is built off of these things. So use the worksheet, circle some of the examples, list out 5 to 10 of these, preferably 7, 8, 9, 10 of these, and that's going to be step one for us working on our business as we're trying to build a business that allows you to reach, pretty much all of your professional and personal goals.